trying to put together an affordable housing project.
Well,
Have to tell my wife that something.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that they talked about a rewrite of the TIF.
Can you do this too?
Good morning and welcome to the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for January 26th, 2017. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda, there are speaker request forms on the table along the left wall. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the staff seated on the left of the dais. At this time, we'd also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so that the meeting is not disrupted. Items 1 through 4 have been placed on the consent calendar and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items. Item 3, 16 PD 046, and Item 4, 17 UR 001. The Rapid City Planning Commission's actions on these items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Community Planning and Development Services Department by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items that staff would like to remove from the consent calendar? Any items the Planning Commission would like removed? And any items that the audience would like removed for separate consideration? John made the motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 4. Steve seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We're now on to item 5.
Good morning. Item 5 is a final plan development to expand an existing child care center located at 606 East Indiana Street. Property zone low density residential district. There has been a conditional use permit on the property since 1986 for a child care center. Initially it was approved for 24 children. In 1995 it was expanded to allow for 28 children, and currently the applicant is proposing to expand it from 28 to 30 children. That is one of the requests. Located to the west is Zone Public District, and it's located within a residential, primarily single-family residential district to the northeast and south. Existing structure located on the property. One of the exceptions the applicant is requesting is a reduction in parking from 6 parking spaces to 1. The addition of 2 children does not significantly increase the parking demand. It's an increase of 0.2 parking spaces. There's currently a driveway that's a horseshoe that is used for pickup and drop off. And then there's 1 parking space located here, and then another pad that appears to be in the right of way, but isn't counted towards parking, but is used as an area to park. The applicant has indicated the staff has historically parked using the on-street parking, and that with the staggered hours of drop-off in the morning and pickup throughout the afternoon, that the increase in the number of children will not have a significant impact on the parking on the site, and staff is recommending that the exception to reduce the parking be granted, and that the number of children located on the site be allowed to be increased from 28 to 30 children. Future land use is low-density neighborhood. It's, I believe, Meadowbrook Elementary to the west. In East Indiana Street is a collector street on the city's major street plan. You'll notice one of the stipulations of approval is that the fence in the front yard, which is enclosing the play area that's located in the front yard, that prior to initiation of the use, the fence be moved so that it's located on the property line. Currently, it's out towards it's out on the sidewalk, which is located within the public right-of-way. For the safety of the children and then traffic and everything, we would like to see that fence moved. It's encroaching into the public right-of-way. So before the initiation of use, we're stipulating that the fence be relocated onto the property. Building elevation, the applicant has indicated that the state has reviewed the proposed expansion and that they meet the state requirements for a child care center of this size. An exception that the applicant is requesting is to increase the maximum allowed signage from 1 square foot to 15 square feet, and they're proposing a 3 foot by 5 foot sign. This is what it'll look like. It'll be a wall sign which they're proposing to put on the building. This is located in a primarily residential neighborhood, in a converted single-family dwelling. Staff does not recommend that the exception be granted and is recommending that the exception request be denied. It's not in keeping with the residential character of the area, and it's an existing child care center. It's been there for a while. People know it's there. That was looking at the property towards the north and east. A sign is posted on the property, looking east along Indiana Street, back towards the school to the west, north to the south, and back west. So, with that, staff is recommending that the final plan development be approved with stipulations noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Fletcher. Any questions for Fletcher? Any discussion? Karen made the motion to approve with the stipulations noted. Steve seconded that motion. Galen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can maybe is the applicant here? I have a question about the sign. I guess I may be leaning towards allowing the sign, given that it is right next to, it's on a corner lot. It's right across from a school. I don't think the sign necessarily would have a giant impact on the neighborhood. So maybe if we could see, point out where the sign would be located, and we'll see if we can work with you on that.
Hello, everyone. We do plan to put on the sign affixed to the building.
Can you give your name and location so we can have that for the
Scott
record?
Showalter.
Thank you.
We do plan to put the sign at the very top of the building where the white is, right there. And we had originally requested a sign for the 3x5 sign, but we do have a design where we could make a sign 2x3 if that's more acceptable. So we're willing to work with whatever you guys recommend.
I think I would support that if we could, I don't know if I can offer an amendment to allow a 2x3 sign.
That'd be perfect.
Be up to the motion maker in the second. Karen?
Thank you. The purpose of signage is to make sure that there's commercial activity and people know that there's commercial uses being done at that property. And the reason that we have the signage the way it is for residential areas is to make sure that people understand that this is not necessarily a commercial entity, it's still a home. And although they're doing childcare in that home, it still fits within the residential area. And to have a sign, no matter what the size, you are allowed a 1 by something.
One
One
by
by-
one.
One, yeah, there is a ability to put a signage up there. It's no different than a hairdresser that has something in their home, and they're not allowed to have a sign, and that's a commercial entity. So in keeping with the residential character of that neighborhood and the kids across the street in the school, and it is, people see it all the time. They see there's a playground there. They know it's a child care center, and I just don't think that it's necessary to put up a sign. So I would stick with the stipulations as noted in the staff report.
I'm no procedure expert, but I believe we'd probably have to vote on the motion that's on the floor now, and then depending on what happens, we could revisit. Is that correct, Vicki?
That's correct. Carla, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think someone could make a substitute motion, and if it
Okay.
got a second, then that could be voted on first, or you could go with the original motion and vote on that. I think those are your alternatives.
Okay.
I'll make the substitute motion to allow a 2 by 3 foot sign that's in place of stipulation number 2.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
Maybe not. Okay.
I'm not hearing one, so I would say that dies for lack of a second. And we're back to the original motion per the stipulations as listed. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carried with the original staff recommendations. We're on to item number 6, and I believe Kim and Kurt have to abstain from this item. Okay.
Item number 6 is the final plan development for West Hills Village expansion, Phase 2. The assisted care facility property is zoned medium-density residential district with a planned development showing the existing development on the site. In this area here is where the proposed expansion is. And this is Phase 2. Phase 1 was a parking expansion on this northwest side of the property, which was approved to add additional parking. And then future Phase 3 will be, is proposed to be 6 duplexes located on that southwest side of the property. Future land use is a mix of urban neighborhood and low-density neighborhood. Fifth Street is identified as an arterial street, principal arterial street. And here we have the proposed assisted living facility expansion. It's a 53,468 square foot building. On the first level will be constructed 100 parking spaces within the building, and then an additional 33 parking spaces located on the north side of the property adjacent to Texas Street. Phasing plan showing again that phase 1, this is phase 2, and then phase 3 is on the southwest corner. So there were some concerns that were brought up when this was initially looked at as an initial plan development. There were 4 major areas that we were looking at. One of them being drainage and providing a master drainage plan, lighting, parking, and then elevations to show that it meets the residential character of the neighborhood. And so the applicant has submitted these renderings showing what the proposed facility will look like. With increased 107-foot setbacks from Texas Street and the proposed lush landscaping and they're within the interior of the site, it is keeping with the character and enhancing the character of this area. Another issue we looked at was lighting. One of our concerns being putting parking along Texas Street, and how having vehicles parking pointing towards the street, how they're going to mitigate parking lot lighting as well as vehicle headlights. We did meet with the applicant, and along that north side of the parking lot, the applicant is proposing to construct a screening fence and then a retaining wall with a planting area. Here's the retaining wall, screening fence, which should provide additional buffering so that the headlights of vehicles don't shine into residential properties located on the north side of Texas Street. In addition, the applicant has submitted a lighting plan demonstrating that they're going to use masked lighting for the parking lot lighting, and they're going to keep existing trees. Here's another showing the elevation of that proposed fence and planter. And here we have existing trees that are going to remain in place, and then additional landscaping within the boulevard between the sidewalk and the parking lot, really providing that landscaping to provide both a buffer as well as enhance the character of the facility. And here we have another rendering which shows the landscaping existing and proposed in this area of the property. They have increased setbacks all the way around. So with that distance from the facility to adjacent properties, the fact that they're keeping within the height limitation for the district and the landscaping that's being proposed, we believe this facility is going to really add a punch to this neighborhood. Here we're showing the interior parking. When it comes to parking congestion during construction on the site, that was one of the concerns, that if we're losing parking and we're having construction crews out there in this residential neighborhood, how are they going to decrease the congestion that comes along with that? And the applicant has indicated that once the foundation and the parking on the first level is constructed, it will be used by people on the site who are working there. In addition, there are 3 off-site areas where the applicant is proposing to have construction workers park and then be brought into the site to do work. The applicant has also indicated that residents of the existing facility will be offered the opportunity to put their vehicles into storage, opening up additional parking on the site so that when it comes to the parking congestion in the area, it's addressed and reduced so that it's having mitigating the impact of it as much as possible. Here we have a picture of looking into the site. The sign is posted on the property. A demolition permit has been executed on the properties, removing the single-family dwellings which were located there previously. Looking east along Texas Street and to the west, looking west at the existing facility, and north along on the north side of Texas Street at the existing single-family dwellings, which we're trying to help buffer the impact of this development. This is looking from the south side along, there's a cul-de-sac at the site and along the cul-de-sac and back down to the south. The biggest issue that there was when this came forward as an initial plan development was that a master drainage plan for the facility be submitted, demonstrating that the entire site, existing and proposed, that drainage is addressed. The applicant has submitted that master drainage plan, and it shows that the existing drainage on the property, any mistakes that were made with that have been fixed or will be fixed, and that the proposed drainage off of this new facility, it will all be dealt with. And if I can find exactly how the applicant's engineer addressed it, they said that it's going to bring it down to pre-development levels on the site, and it all drains to the major drainage easement along this facility and is metered out, and it's going to be an improvement for the area, which has raised concerns about drainage in the area, and their master drainage plan demonstrates that it's being addressed. The applicant's not requesting any exceptions from the underlying zoning district, and staff is recommending that the final plan development to expand the assisted living facility be approved with stipulations noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Fletcher. I have a speaker request for him, but if anybody on the commission would like to ask Fletcher something at this time, I'd offer that. Mike.
Thank you. I have a question on as we move further down Texas Street, I don't know if the street itself has been addressed. I'm assuming the traffic is going to increase. And most of it has been towards the 5th Street because the exit entrance is on that side. But as we move further down, is that creating a problem on Texas Street for people?
The proposed assisted living facility, the applicant has indicated that none of the residents will have vehicles. They're yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The speaker request is from John Ankowiak. I hope I got your last name right.
Yes, terrific. Thank you. My name is John Ankowiak, and I live at 3701 Arizona Street. It's just around the corner from the project, and I'm the unintended consequence of this project. I came home from a medical emergency in Pierre for my in-laws to find my backyard in this condition. That's a 40 by 60 foot area of my backyard that's cordoned off and dug up. At some point in time, someone made a decision to eliminate that power pole in the background and bring the lines underground up to the power pole on or close to my property. When I got home on the 3rd of January, I had a phone call on my answering machine saying that someone wanted to talk to me about some fencing that I had stored in the easement area. And that's the way I found the condition of my property. I've been here for all the meetings that we've had on this project, and at no time did anyone tell me that this would be a consequence of the project I'm basically upset. My property design says that there's a 6-foot easement, utility and drainage easement from the property line, which is where the fence is. I don't know why I got a 60 by 40 foot, but obviously the 6-foot easement means nothing. I talked to Daryl Reineke from the CEO of West Hills Village, called him down the morning of the 3rd and asked him if he knew that his construction had bleeded into my area. He said, no, they shouldn't be, and I invited him down to take a look at it, and he brought the construction people down. They said they would work with me, so we'll see how that works out. My concern is that there's no consideration for the adjoining property owners. No one seems to consider us and let us know anything in advance. It just happens, and we're left to deal with it. I would appreciate it if in the future with some of these projects that you would look into digging a little deeper and finding out a little more about what's going on with the utilities to try and let us know. A 15-day letter to me to say, hey, we're going to have to tear up your backyard, and I would have been able to save some of my landscaping that I had back there. But as it goes, we didn't get anything. So I'd appreciate the consideration in the future. I'd like to remind you that the property that you own in Rapid City also has similar easements on it, and I would hope that you don't walk home some morning and find out something like this has happened to you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Questions, comments from the commission? I have one. One of the discussions in the last round was whether access would be taken from the cul-de-sacs. There's 2 cul-de-sacs on the southeast side. I don't know the street names. I wondered if we could get an update on that.
My name is Kim Schmidt, and I'm with Upper Deck Architects, representing the architecture firm. The way the building has been designed, the lower, yeah, if you could bring it up. The cul-de-sac you can't kind of see. On the lower south side, there is no access to this facility. That is at a lower elevation, Centennial Street, clear down on that left-hand side. That's lower, so it sits. The Freedom Court, thank you. So the Freedom Court cul-de-sac. The intention right now, all deliveries will all happen through where Fletcher marked up the green area. So right now we're not providing any access really to the building from that, unless there may be some future, there's a transformer that sits there might be some utility issues, but there's no deliveries that are coming off of Freedom Court.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other comment, I guess I'll add another one. This would be a question for probably Daryl Reineke about Mr. Ankowiak's issues that he brought up. Just could you tell us a little bit about your notification plans going forward?
Sure. Daryl Reineke with West Hills Village, and as John mentioned, I found out about that at the same time John, unfortunately. The good news was that all the contractors were there within the hour, as well as myself. We met with John, and over the those 2 weeks, one of the utility companies had gone in, and without, I wasn't aware as well, and started moving one of the lines. So I know that once we get started in this project and there's a project manager on site, that coordination will get easier. That certainly doesn't excuse what happened here, but the contractors as well as us has made sure John know that, you know, as weather permits, that will be addressed in the satisfactory way that he would want, and I think he agrees with that as well, as we have talked about that. But the coordination, other than that, the coordination has gone very, very well. You know, I've sent out, I think, 6 letters to over 60 people each time, letting them know what was going on, when we sold the homes, when the homes were being moved, if there's any disruption to the site. We've tried to keep people abreast as much as we can with that. And I can tell you that's a huge focus of ours as well. We don't want any miscommunication or surprises to them or in turn to us.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Karen made the motion to approve this item with staff stipulations. Steve seconded that motion. Are there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Item number 7.
Next, we have a major amendment to a conditional use permit to revise a stipulation to allow fence slats. Originally, we saw at Prairie Market a request to allow a fence in the flood hazard district. It's the location of the Greenway tract. The intention of the fence is to reduce the amount of people walking through the site. Sign is posted on the property. This was originally approved, but the stipulation was to not allow fence slats. As it was put onto the property or constructed, fence slats were placed within the chain link. This stipulation originated from the Rapid City Police Department, which wanted to ensure that visibility was maintained. Once we noticed that fence slats were going up, we notified the Rapid City Police Department. Their representative went out and took a look at the site and indicated concurrence with allowing the fence slats as visibility was maintained. And as such, in order to revise the stipulation of approval, a major amendment is required, and staff is recommending approval of the major amendment. Are there any questions for staff?
Karen.
Thank you. Fletcher, first, it's upsetting that if you have a stipulation that says no slats and then they do it, that doesn't make me happy, but, it does happen. And I'm not opposed to those slats. I understand the need for some of those things. My question is, slats typically they don't last, and they start to look really bad and tattered and stuff. Is there a stipulation that you can put on there that it has to be maintained?
We don't currently have a stipulation that says that. However, as part of the lease with the Parks Department, there was the lessee of the area from the Parks Department had to sign an agreement for maintenance and repair of the fence.
Okay, so there is some kind of
lease agreement in place.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Since the Parks Department will have closer review of the fence itself, we thought that allowing them to be the one policing that maintenance would be a better option than having to bring something back before the Planning Commission. In addition, one of the things that has been brought to our attention, because historically slats have been plastic and the wind breaks them, and there's new material that's been used, and the life of that material far exceeds what we've had to deal with in the past, so I'll be curious to see how this lasts.
Thanks, Vicki. Further comments? Galen made the motion to approve. Kim seconded, I assume per the stipulation. Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Item number 8.
Thank you. Good morning. Item number 8 is 16 PD 066, a major amendment to the plan development to allow expansion of an existing on-sale liquor establishment in conjunction with a casino. This is for the Joker's Casino located at 1320 Mount Rushmore Road. It is an existing facility that's currently located within one suite and a 4-suite strip mall. The applicant is proposing to expand into the adjacent suite. We should note first and foremost that there are no expansions or additions or alterations to the existing structure that are being proposed. In 1994, there was a variance that was approved on the property to reduce landscaping, parking, and setbacks on the property. The property was then developed through the plan development process, but the variances that they got were never transposed as exceptions in the plan development. So as a part of this major amendment to expand the on-sale liquor establishment, they want to get those variances that were previously approved as stipulations or as exceptions as a part of the plan development. However, there will be no conditions changing on the site with the exception of the expansion of the on-sale liquor. Let's go through some slides to show what's going on the property. It's currently zoned general commercial district located within the Mount Rushmore Road commercial corridor. We're all very aware Mount Rushmore Road is currently under reconstruction. That reconstruction has limited the availability of space in this area, making additional parking, additional landscaping, and redevelopment of the site exceptionally difficult. Look at the site as it exists today. This is pre-reconstruction, so with the exception of Mount Rushmore Road, the conditions on the site are not changing as a part of this request. It's shown as urban neighborhood, but Mount Rushmore Road is a revitalization corridor and one of the larger commercial corridors in the city. Also a principal arterial street on the city's major street plan. So this is a applicant site plan. So today we have a massage therapy business here, cleaners here. The existing Joker's Casino is here. The applicant is proposing to expand into the tenant space indicated there. The applicant is requesting an exception to reduce the required amount of parking on the site from 52 spaces to 22 spaces. As I previously noted, the 22 spaces are what are existing today, and they do. We have the benefit of experience showing that those 22 spaces do appear to adequately service the site, provide the required amount of on-street parking. The applicant is also requesting an exception to reduce the required amount of landscaping on the property from 12,715 points to 6,060 points. The caveat being that 4,000 of the proposed 6,000 points are located within the St. James right-of-way on the south side of the property. Again, given the unique circumstances and previous development on the site, additional landscaping would be virtually impossible to put on the site as it is today. And finally, they are asking for an exception. Commercial parking located adjacent to a residential district must be located a minimum of 12 feet from the property line. However, the existing parking is laid out today is located 0 feet from that eastern property line right here. So they are requesting an exception as a part of this to reduce the required setback from commercial parking to a residential use from 12 feet to 0 feet. As a part of this, the applicant currently maintains and is proposing to continue with a 6 foot tall opaque wooden screening fence located between the commercial property and the residential use located to the east. The fence is still located on the site in good repair and will continue to be on the site as a part of this application, as a part of this request. Excuse me. Staff photos of the site, as you can see, the signs posted for on-sale liquor and plan development in that adjacent suite to the Joker's Casino. This is a look at Mount Rushmore Road with the construction completed, looking to the south. As you can see, between the curb face of Mount Rushmore Road and the curb face of the parking lot, there's nothing but pavement. Additional landscaping would be difficult to place in this area. Same situation looking to the north along Mount Rushmore Road. And looking at St. James, the availability of landscaping is limited. This is a look at the parking lot located on the east side of the property. There's a couple things you can note here. The first would be the location of the screening fence on the east side of the parking lot and the availability of the circulation aisle to safely, effectively move cars around, circulate cars through the site. And a look at the existing businesses on the property today. So noting the unique development of this site in the past and the special circumstances regarding the availability of parking, landscaping, setbacks, limited building envelope, staff does recognize that there are unique situations on this property which deserve the consideration of the previously granted variance and the exceptions that are being requested as a part of this request. We do have a speaker request form that was submitted for this item. But staff is recommending that this application be approved with the stipulations noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Robert. Mike, do you have a question for him?
I'm involved with the Mount Rushmore Road Group, and we do very much look at the landscaping. I guess my only question would be, as I look at the sign, the medicine shop has landscaping below their sign. So they have added that to the signage area. My question, I guess, is, are we too quick to say that landscaping cannot be addressed? Because as we move forward, we are trying to soften up Mount Rushmore Road and make the aesthetics, the greenery and so forth, not lose that and make it all commercial. So I guess the challenge is to not necessarily say we can't, and to look at what we can do. And I think there are options, like I said, maybe below that sign to make some greenery. And if you pull up that sign, you'll see the medicine shop down the ways that does have.
On the site plan, if I might just point out quickly, there's the existing signage indicated on this site plan. Excuse me. Are we? I'm not sure if this is the signage you're referring to.
Oh, it's the one that has Rushmore Road Plaza.
This one here?
It's not the one that I have on my stuff.
Medicine shop sign would be in the
Yeah,
background
that's
there.
that must be the sign. And I'm just saying that we need to maybe look at what our options might be instead of just saying that landscaping is not an option. I think as we move forward, especially with the work that's gone on Mount Rushmore Road, we're putting plantings in the middle. So don't be too quick, I guess, to take away from what we're trying to do on the sides either.
Thank you, Mike. We do have a speaker request from Shirley Rising, I believe.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
If I could just clarify something. The Zoning Board of Adjustment in 1994 granted a variance to reduce the setback to the residential to the east, to reduce the landscaping to the points that we see today, and to reduce the parking. Then along the line, it became a planned development. And as you know, when you are asking for a reduction in the land area regulations, you do so either by seeking a variance, or if you're in a planned development, then you seek that through an exception through the planned development. Here we had a property that didn't need a conditional use review. With the addition of on-sale liquor to the property, they brought in the planned development application. And in essence, what we're doing today is acknowledging the variances that were granted in '94 to the landscaping and the setbacks. The expansion of the on-sale liquor use does trigger additional parking. So the exception that's being requested today to reduce the parking, we do have a larger requirement. So that is a number that's back on the table for discussion. The fact that we do have the applicant here today, I think it's a great opportunity to have that discussion to see if we can get some additional landscaping. But when we looked at that, Mike, that was one of the things that we were reminded of, is that variance was granted, and once granted, it goes with the property. So we had some limitations.
Could I have you take it back to the site plan, please?
Can you identify yourself? Are you responding to the landscaping discussion?
Kent Kennedy of Kennedy Design Group. The signage that you're concerned with straddles parking spaces. So in other words, like you said, if we expand landscaping, we lose parking. So it's the choice of if you want more landscaping in that area, or if we lose parking. It would be up to you But it's to the benefit, I think, is to leave it as is. But the choice is up to you. I mean, we can do what you need to do there or want to do, but we will lose parking spaces.
Thanks, Kent. Mike?
Kent?
Yes.
Now, as we move forward, though, we are asking, and I'll speak kind of from the Mount Rushmore Road Group aspect, that we're asking the businesses to look at their options and make sure that they're doing the things that make that happen. So,
Now, I understand that. Are you asking the concern of off-site in the right-of-way? Is that the question?
no, it's more of the aesthetics of Mount Rushmore Road as the businesses move forward in that area. Part of the group, and I just ask that all businesses
Right.
look at their options.
Well, the existing other sign does have landscaping with it. The concern that we need to maintain is that that landscaping cannot get too high because we have a site triangle there.
Sure.
And so we would maintain that. Like I said, is it a choice of yours that we should add more landscaping there? I mean, the owner of the building, I am sure, will accommodate you in whatever it needs to be. We don't want to affect the site triangles, and we are assuming that we should not affect the amount of parking because we are limited to begin with.
Correct. You've lost one spot because of the signage. So,
The original variances allowed a certain parking within the site triangle along St. James. And that has been maintained and not changed. And then when they put the sign in on what I would call the north side, towards the alley, like I said, they straddled parking spaces. We could look at the possibility, that's the location of the sign that divides parking spaces from one to the other. It sits in the, now if we choose to expand landscaping there, like I said, we would probably have to sacrifice a parking space.
All right, thanks, Ken. I want to make sure we get Shirley's comments before we get too far along on making any changes to what we do. I'd like to hear that before we go any further. Shirley, do you have a moment? And I hope I got your last name right.
Good morning. My name is Shirley Rising. I'm the co-owner of the Medicine Shop at 1304 Mount Rushmore Road. We own and operate the Medicine Shop and Rushmore Compounding, which is just to the north, as you just seen, of the property. We lease the building, so we don't own the building and the property, but we own the businesses. Doug and Donna Scheller are the owners of the property. But we do own the property at 747 Fairview, which is under the name of Rising Properties. So a couple of concerns that we have, mainly it's due to the expansion of the casino, being that type of business which would draw more people into our neighborhood. The parking spaces, as with most businesses in Rapid City, parking spaces are a concern for us as well. As recent as 2 weeks ago, we had a trucker park his 18-wheeler adjacent to Mount Rushmore Road on our property, and we dispatched or called the Rapid City Police Department and was told it was on private property and there was nothing they could do. So this trucker blocked our business for an hour and a half, and it was a client of the casino next door. Although it's infrequently, we've had other clients from the casino use our parking spaces for our business. We kind of get a giggle out of it as to maybe they think it's better that their car be seen in front of the pharmacy instead of in front of the casino or Hong Kong Ruby Massage, but nonetheless, it does happen. Our concern is that with the expansion, we'll see these instances increase and adversely impact our business in the neighborhood. Additionally, in 2008, when we were remodeling a portion of our building, the city required us to obtain a lease from Rising Properties, the business that we own, for additional parking spaces for the medicine shop. And so we had to draft a legal lease for our business, the Rising Properties, to the medicine shop business for these additional parking places because we didn't have enough parking places. So I question if this type of arrangement has equally been considered for the casino. So could additional parking spaces be leased from another business, perhaps Lisi Chiropractic, for the business employees and staff parking? So has that been a consideration? Has that been looked at?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Robert.
As a part of the original request, for this major amendment, the applicant did offer up to provide additional leased parking spaces at a different location on the site. As part of the review, staff noted that those parking spaces would not be permitted to be used as staff or employee parking for the strip mall. However, it's possible there's the potential there for alternative parking spaces to be located and leased in this agreement, but you would probably need to approach the applicant with regards to that.
Thank you,
Mr.
Robert.
Chair, just to clarify,
Yeah.
so if you do off-site parking and you want to count it towards your parking requirement, it has to be within so many feet of the front door of the business by pedestrian walkway. What was proposed did not meet that requirement. Obviously, they will continue to have that option to utilize it, they just can't count it. Through the plan development today, if it's still the desire of the applicant to secure that off-street parking, or off-site parking, and it's the desire of the Planning Commission to require it as part of this major amendment, we could do so granting the exception that the 300-foot distance be waived.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki. Mrs. Rising?
In addition, ours was regarding security, and I don't know if that would be addressed here as well, but just the expansion of allowing the casino to expand, we do have concerns regarding security. Just in my short research, there's been 4 burglaries at that location, and we also have issues, of course, as Rapid City, we just have to deal with it. It's experience of trash. We have human defecation on our sidewalks, alley, and parking lot, and we've had instances of graffiti, and 3 of our windows have been broken just in the 10 years that we've owned the pharmacy. Also, in addition, the robbery and death of the convenience store clerk just recently, just up the street from us, brings grave concerns to our neighborhood. So it would seem that the expansion of a non-sale liquor establishment in conjunction with the casino may be an increase in such destructive and illegal activity. So it's just another concern that we have, and just as a business in the neighborhood, I just wanted to voice that. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. John Brewer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go back to the previous discussion, and I would just point out that the Mount Rushmore Road corridor study that was completed before all the construction and whatever leads some guidance to what I think Mike was asking about when he says that Mount Rushmore has concerns about how the road develops aesthetically. A lot of that discussion was borne out and is represented by the consultant study that has been sort of the guide for the development of Mount Rushmore. The road group, which I also attend and am a member of, does have an interest in seeing that now with the new construction, that the road becomes something that community can embrace, that it'll look good, that although it's a commercial strip, it'll also have some aesthetic value to those people that go up and down and the businesses that are on that street. So I just want to make that comment that the corridor study does offer some guidance. I think that developers in the city, I'm sure, uses in evaluating plans before they come to us. On the second issue on parking, I guess probably it might be of interest to me if we review the parking stipulations so that I understand a little bit better, and I'm guessing that our next speaker may have something to say about that.
Mr. Chair, if I could
Yeah,
clarify.
Vicki.
So what Rob brought to my attention, the primary reason why we didn't require or allow them to utilize the off-site parking is it's within a medium-density residential zoning district. When it's the standalone use on a property, it's considered a public parking lot. You cannot have a public parking lot in a residential zoning district unless it's accessory to a otherwise permitted use such as a church. So that parking cannot be allowed or counted towards this. It would be an illegal use in that zoning district. And that's unlike what the medicine shop did. They did a great job working with their commercial neighbors and securing some off-site parking. When we speak to the issues with parking and vandalism, there needs to be that neighborhood communication between business owners where they are monitoring where their customers are parking, and it's good that we have both of them in the audience here today because that's something that they can work on together. When we see an on-sale liquor use such as this one in conjunction with the casino being expanded, and we've done this in other locations as well, the end result is we typically don't see the same number of increase in clients. Even though they're expanding the use, it doesn't increase the parking to the same degree because the use is already there, and the existing casino typically isn't full at all times. But it is a place for them to place an on-sale liquor license for potential future use elsewhere if they need to. So with that, I'll let Mr. Bradsky speak to see how he might work to address some of these issues.
Thank you. Mr. Bradsky? Please identify.
Paul Bradsky. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and I'm going to speak for the landlord on some of these items too because I've been in conversations with them, the Hollyoaks. Just to give you background how this came about, initially that was a payday lending location, and when that new state law passed, every payday lending in Rapid shut down within 2 months. So as far as additional traffic, I don't think this is going to generate any more traffic than that business generated as a payday lending business. As far as the landscaping goes, if you recall, there was a row of trees along the A Street, and so I called the Hollyoaks and asked them what happened to all the trees. And well, when the DOT went through with the corridor, they acquired their right-of-way in front up to the edge of their existing parking, and they took all the trees out. And what they did is actually a way better improvement. It looks great, but you're right, those trees and bushes or whatever it was are gone. That's now DOT property. So it's really not the Hollyoaks' fault, even though they did sell the property to DOT, but they had to make all that happen. The existing planter around the larger Joker's Casino sign that's along the highway there, that should have landscaping in it, and that's Hollyoaks do maintain it. They're an older retired couple. It dies every winter, and they come back every summer, and they need, that's we can help to make sure that gets done and maintained. But that's around, and that used to be the old Jet Photo sign, if any of you remember when that was there. So that was Jet Photo, and nobody wanted to give up the sign because they had two signs there. Jet Photo had their own sign. That was one of their requirements as a tenant. So anyway, we'd hate to lose any parking. So if you're inclined to require landscape around that other sign, I would suggest we just agree to take that sign down completely and incorporate it into the old Jet Photo sign, which is the Joker's Casino sign now, to not have to lose any parking. And then as far as security goes, we do pride ourselves on having like the best security cameras we can get. So we're going to add security cameras, for this location to make sure We've already took steps. We've already brightened the parking lot in front. And we instruct our employees very specifically, if you ever do get robbed or you just turn over the cash, you don't fight anything. As far as the trash, I haven't heard that was an issue at that location. If it is an issue, we can look at a trash compactor situation to alleviate any trash. But it's the first I've heard of the trash. If you have any other questions.
Thank you. I do have a light up from Mike. Do you have a question for Mr. Bradsky?
Yes. If there is unnecessary signage, that would be great if it could be taken down.
I know everybody hates to lose their signage, but I could talk to the Holyoaks on that one. If that's something you really want,
well,
we could do that.
If it's not a necessary, I guess I would propose that maybe that signage be taken down as part of the construction. The signage, if it's necessary, I think it's important for businesses to be able to do this. But if there's signage that's just up there not being used, signage that's not necessary, it makes no sense to leave it up and have it be something that is not maintained properly and takes away from the master plan for the Mount Rushmore Road corridor as was presented.
Right now, on the sign right now, it's being used by the tenants, so we'd have to make sure the tenants were aware that we're reincorporating their sign. You know what I mean? Into the other sign that's actually owned by the casino. So
maybe Vicki could further explain.
Sure.
Vicki?
So, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
The existing signage that's there today is within the sign code as it stands. We don't have anything within the code that says necessary signage. If it's within a square footage amount, it's allowed. So I'm a little hesitant, since the owners aren't here to come on board to stipulate they have to take the sign down. We did get an offer from Mr. Bradsky that landscaping could be provided around the sign that isn't in the parking lot. And I think that would be a great win, is if we could get landscaping similar to what Medicine Shop has done on this property within those planter boxes. That would certainly improve the aesthetics of it without putting us in a position where we're limiting signage beyond what the sign code allows. A suggestion.
Thank you.
I would still question any business if they have signage that's not necessary. I think it's in the best interest of the city to get rid of. Personal. Okay. Shirley, I want to just make a comment on your the where people park. Good luck on that one, because I happen to know that happens personally. So I would suggest maybe signage that you would ask to be put up that tells people that it's for your business only, and then that might possibly give you some leeway to further address it with the police. I'm not familiar exactly how that works, but you can put signage for your problem there. So that's what I have.
Thanks, Mike. Karen Bowman?
Thank you. Paul, I appreciate the things that you've offered, and I'm not going to make a stipulation that says you have to take the sign down or anything, but as part of the Mount Rushmore Road changes, anything you can do, whether it's landscaping or taking an extra sign down, would be a real benefit, I think, for that, for the whole city. And so I appreciate some of your comments. Does Shirley have the Holyoke family or whoever's running the casinos, those phone numbers, so they can get back and forth? Because I think that would be something. I mean, if somebody parked a big, huge truck in front of my business, I'd be real upset, and I'd be calling somebody. And I think there should be something that can be worked out between, those parties. So, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Any further comments, discussion on this item? I think we still need a motion then. Karen made the motion to approve with the staff stipulations. Steve seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion at hand? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Discussion items, staff items, anything?
Yes, this is John Brewer's last Planning Commission meeting.
No.
And we just wanted to take the opportunity to thank him for his many years of service on the Planning Commission. And what some of you may not be aware is that John has served on many, many committees over the years to help the city create a lot of the ordinances that we use today. And our gratitude is deep and heartfelt. Thank you, John. You will be dearly missed.
Thanks very much, John. You've put a lot of time into this.
Thank you. If I could just take a minute, as usual. It's just a little over 10 years. A number of mayors of this city have appointed me and, more amazingly, reappointed me. So it has been an honor to have been able to serve the city. Had some great people that are previously served on this commission and are serving now, and think that the commission has done a great job in providing that aspect to the growth and development of the city. The discussion now on Mount Rushmore Road being just another example of the role that the commission plays in making sure the community grows and becomes a place that we all want to live and prosper in. And finally, the staff has been phenomenal. Quite honestly, it's a high degree of presentation materials they bring each and every time. They represent the citizens that come forward in this community. And it's sometimes a scary thing for them to take that mic to tell us what's happened to their property or ask us to help them protect their property. And the commission has to walk that line as to whether we are representing the city and enforcing the ordinances and codes, or whether we are actually protecting ourselves from ourselves. So, been a great time, and kind of sorry to leave before the end of this term, which has another year to go on, but it's time to go sit in the sun for a while. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I need a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Steve moved to adjourn. Karen seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.